this Rotocork's getting, well, it's not too bad, but you can see it has some powder in there. Often they'll get kind of worn down. They get these sort of grooves dug in, especially if you're not level on the ski. So every once in a while you may have to refresh the Rotocork, and the best way to do that is take a brush or a cork or something and use sandpaper, and you just hold it and run it back and forth. If I had sandpaper, well, that's fine for this. But if I had sandpaper, I'd just run it on here and just rub it back and forth and try to smooth that out. But I do think it is a good thing to have like some fluorocarbon in the cork. Just like I said, you don't want to be removing this and stripping it off the ski. You want to be sort of pressing it in. So when a Rotocork is fresh and new, it's going to absorb some of that fluorocarbon.
So could you just run a block on it to put some in?
I suppose you could, yeah. I suppose you could.
Pretty, like, what kind of sandpaper? Like 100 or?
Yeah, probably 120 or something. Yeah. Don't think you want to go too rough there. So you want to be, with the Rotocork, you want to be, you want it to be spinning in the direction of down the ski. So you don't want it to be, you want to feel like you're pushing against it. So it's wanting to run back up the ski. That means it's pushing in this direction. So as it touches the surface of the ski, it's pushing down that way. You don't want it to be going down the ski like that. So I think I'm not sure what the recommendations are. I don't think you want to run top speed on the Rotocork. It is nice to have a drill that has a set on the trigger, so you can find what you like there. But too fast, and I think you can burn the ski. Too slow, so just kind of find I would say a happy medium, a medium speed there with the drill. Holding it nice and flat. You don't want to be on edge. And again, this is where you want to be wearing a face mask too, because and have one of these shields, because it'll throw off quite a bit of stuff. It's pretty normal to have a few little chatter bumps, and that seems to be fine. And I think, yeah, what you want to avoid is sometimes you'll see like long streaks, and that's actually sort of burning on the ski a little bit. This is quite a greasy powder.
So like along the edge there.
Yeah, like maybe here a little bit. Yeah. It's not perfect. Yeah, I was a little bit variable on the speed there, just trying to find it, but ideally there should be a little bit of smoke that gets kicked up from the Rotocork too. And I think probably because we waited quite a while after the ironing before I Rotocorked, then it had a chance to cool down a little too much. But sometimes I'll make a second pass. Like if it didn't do a super good job the first time, I'll make a second pass.
What kind of pressure are you applying?
Not too much pressure, maybe like 15 pounds or something. Mm-hmm. So you have the weight of the drill and just a little bit more, just to feel like you have a good contact on there. It's often nice to have a box or something under your table that you can place the drill on. Nice to have the iron up here. The iron can also go underneath as well. What's important with the Rotocork is that you don't have too much stuff on the table, because inevitably you'll be moving along and you're going to bump into something. You know, if there's an iron sitting too close or
burn your hand.
Yeah.
So awesome.
And then proceed with nylon brush once it's cool. Just end up brushing it pretty vigorously again.
Same nylon grade that you'd use for just regular prep before.
Yep. There's a bunch of different ones. Some are short hair, long hair, but I don't think it matters so much. It's the fact, just you're trying to remove the excess, but with the nylon brush, I think then you do end up leaving you know, a very thin layer still on top of the ski rest. And you can visually see what gets left behind still, so you can go back and some powders are definitely easier than others. And then this one, there's some in the groove there, so we'll just go back and hit the groove.
And why did you go away from rotocorking brushes? Or roto brushing?
That's just kind of a trend, I guess. I find actually that with hand brushes you can do a better job. Surprisingly enough, I found with the Rotocork there was times when you could still see some wax on the ski, and it was just a little bit harder to sort of get the fine detail work that's sometimes required there. So. So the groove is nice and clean.
You do this whole process with the ski on the form in one shot. You don't take it off and let it.
Oh no, we definitely let it cool.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the production would be that we'd wax all the skis
Right.
one by one, wax, and then that's why it's nice to have like the wall strap close by or a stand that you can stand the skis in. So what you want to avoid is having to take the ski, walk 10 steps, grab another ski, walk back 10 steps, because that's.
I was more meaning as far as the topper application here. After your roto brush, would you not let it sit, take it off the form and let it sit for 10 or 15 before you brushed it out?
So we powder. So do all the glide waxing, then come back, start at the beginning, do all the scraping and brushing, and depending on how many people are working, then that might be a good idea to scrape, brush the base wax off, and then right away do the powder, because then you're not, like I said, doing that transfer of having to take the ski out of the ski form, put it away, grab another one, bring it back, right? The less times you do that, the more efficient you're being. So, but it may be that I'm doing all the powdering and then someone else is doing all the brushing, and that's kind of the ideal situation. So you're doing one task,
Right.
and you just get into the routine, boom, hand it off, put it in a ski stand, someone else grabs it after a few minutes that it's cooled down and rested, and then they do the final brush and polish, maybe a hand structure on top too. So
you're not waiting, so just with the base wax, you're not waiting, they can get too cold. You're fine to just let it, if it took 10 minutes or 20 minutes, it wouldn't really matter.
that doesn't matter, no. There is a theory that the longer the base waxes sit, they sort of like a crystallization type of thing that goes on, and I mean that came from one of the manufacturers. So often, if we can, we'll leave the base wax overnight, and with skating races,
Scrape
that's
it in the
on the World Cup situation.
When it's
You
cold.
certainly
Yeah.
can't leave it too long.
Just to sort of get maximum hardness, especially in the colder waxes and that sort of thing. So anyways, sometimes get two hands on the brush to get a little bit more pressure. But the concept of brushing, when this brush, it works most effectively when the brush is at right angle. So if you press too hard, and you bend the bristles, then they're not actually cutting or removing wax quite as well. So you don't want to press down so much that you're bending the bristles. You want to keep them, quite straight onto the skis.
More there. Make sure when you're done you look at the grip zone.
And then very important with the powder is to do a really good polish. Like I said, it can feel kind of sticky almost on the skis, the powder, until you.
So would you really use some shop cloth for that? You're not using any fancy
Well,
products?
I guess Fiberline is a little bit better.
But,
The main thing is that you don't want to leave any contamination, like any fuzz from this behind on the ski. So, but if that's all you got, that's
What about
totally
those
fine.
blue brushes? The blue brush? It's like a soft brush.
Nylon as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with them, but
That's what we use to polish with.
Right.
It's like a polishing brush.
sure, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, basically what you want to get is, you want to remove all the excess, but still, you don't want to obviously remove all the fluorocarbon powder that you just put on the ski, so that's why we don't use the steel brush. And get a nice, as shiny black finish as you can, a really polished
So you don't like these guys?
I've used them in the past and they work, yeah, the horsehairs, they work fine.
Well, I like it makes a really clean
Yeah.
ski after you've done everything.
Yeah, yeah, so I like to get, like I really like to polish with cloth at the end and get it kind of shined up that way. Create a little bit of heat there when you polish, and I'll get two hands on it, you know, and do a few of these things. Normally trying to go the direction of travel again.
And what does the polishing do? It just takes all the contaminants
Yeah,
off?
it just kind of finalizes it
And dust
you know, helps it to get that really shiny black finish.
You can definitely see a difference between like even using a horsehair brush to polishing. Like
Yeah.
I have to get that glaze. It must do something to push the
Yeah,
wax down.
I think it creates a little bit of heat there
Yeah,
too.
it must.
And I'll use my finger and make sure one finger is kind of pressed into the groove there to get make sure it's all cleaned out.
So in between the iron and the rotocorking, do you cool them down as well?
No.
No, you just
know,
brush them
normally
right
iron,
away?
Yeah, and that way you get, there's still some heat in the base.
Oh, okay.
And so you sort of maintain the heat there, and the rotocork sort of just helps to, yeah, it's still quite warm, so you have more heat when you rotocork.
And then when you brush it too, like, so you brush it, you don't cool
Oh,
it
then I'll let
between?
it cool, yeah.
Oh, you do?
Before
Okay,
brushing, yeah. Ideally, like a few minutes, depending on how much time you have. Like if it's
Yeah.
real crunch time, then you may just brush right away.
Hmm.
But, yeah. So that's pretty much it. We'll go over structuring a little bit tomorrow. But one thing you may end up doing is putting in a hand structure while the powder is still on the ski, and then brush it out, polish it, and that way the powder is sort of pressed into the hand structure. that you-
Before or after the cork?
After, yeah, for sure, because the cork would sort of remove hand structure. It would definitely,
Yeah, because it heats it up.
Cork it, then
Yeah.
hand structure.
yeah, cork hand structure. And I think that the structure thing, that's not crucial. I mean, structure can sometimes be a last minute thing where you make a last minute decision, so maybe the race ski is ready.
Yeah.
And just go ahead and structure it. But if you know ahead of time that you're structuring, then you can go ahead and put the structure in while the powder is still on the ski, like right before you brush it.
So are you gonna put a puck on top of that, or?
I can, yeah. I'll just show you.
Would you typically, or would you pick one or the other?
It depends on what we're doing. Like often with sprint racing, I'll put the powder on, and just to have like a really good base layer of fluorocarbon powder on, and then the pucks will be additional to that.
You'll do them in the heats,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
as opposed to the qualifier.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the powder is good enough for the qualifier, or I may even put a puck on. But at least then I know I've got a really good ironed in layer of fluorocarbon powder on the ski, and so I think it's just more complete job that's been done rather than the pucks can be adequate, but I like to have a good layer of powder in on the skis that way. So.
Would you ever brush up the powder and then re-iron?
Yeah, people do that. Yep. Yep.
Kind of just like a,
Yeah, you just go along and so after I've ironed the powder, then just go back and just hit it like this,
Yeah.
sort of brush it up again, and then go again with the iron.
It's really abrasive.
What do you find you get about a dozen pairs of skate skis out of one can of powder?
Around there, yeah. 12 to 15, I'd say, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually brush up too, and is it not just to help distribute the fluoros a bit better?
Yeah, I mean, I think I worry a little bit about then too much heat. Like, because you've ironed it once, you brush it up, you iron it again, then you rotocork.
Yeah.
So it starts, you gotta be a little bit careful with too much heat there,
Yeah.
so.
It doesn't add any durability.
the second ironing?
We never, that's the concept, right? But you never know exactly how long stuff lasts anyways, right? And one thing I like to do also then when I'm doing the polishing is just run my fingers on the edges there, and you can just kind of feel if there's any burrs, or you also feel if there's like I've definitely missed a piece of wax right here. so you can feel that sort of stuff, so you just feel the, how clean it is there on the ski. And I'll just sneak in, I'm gonna grab, and with the sprint racing, I have a very good layer of fluorocarbon powder underneath, so then I'll just use a puck and a hand cork. You're just rubbing it on. Most of the time you can see it go on, so you know you're getting good coverage there. When you're working with these outside, they get a little bit more brittle because it's cold or whatever, and so they can crumble and fall apart, and you
Sorry.
lose like $10 worth at a time when they break. So be a little bit careful there.
It's my back. I keep putting one foot forward too.
For a harder puck like
So that's why
C105,
obviously that was very much
if
Yes.
you don't see it on the base, is it on the base?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, normally it's harder to see, but you a little bit. You can see it a little bit. So
Okay.
as long, I mean, you feel it making contact and you're rubbing it on, and that's about all you can do, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how often, especially these black three, like to look at the
Yeah.
distances they're
So
racing.
some people use a rotocork here, and I think that's fine, as long as
Unless you
the
got
cork,
junior women.
like this one, is well seasoned, and you're getting enough product on the ski. But often for sprint racing, because I have a good layer of fluorocarbon powder underneath, then I'll just proceed with the hand cork. And yeah, it's just putting pretty good pressure on the ski and just trying to drive that in there.
Would you only hand cork for a sprint race, or would you do it?
Often, because I've already done a layer of fluorocarbon powder, and then, I mean, they only ski 1 or 1.5K, come back in, I mean, basically you're maybe not changing anything by reapplying another block because they've skied so little on the ski that it's still quite good, so.
For a distance race, if you're gonna apply a puck, you cork it, or?
I'd probably be more inclined to rotocork for a distance race, but it's pretty rare that we do put a block on top of a powder for a distance race.
So just powder for distance race?
Normally, yes. Sometimes what we'll do is do a cold application of the powder outside, so we'll do a warm application inside with, I mean, this is World Cup treatment, so we're really, you know, and again, I think it's psychology for the wax technician more than anything else, that we're doing as much as we can, but powder, complete powder process inside, and then move outside and put the powder on outside again and hand cork it in outside. And I mean, it seems like maybe it makes a little bit shinier finish to the ski just because it's cold and it's kind of a cold polish or whatever, but I think that's unlikely that you're going to be doing that in Canada and with club teams and that sort of thing, but and like I said, as long as the cork is very well seasoned and has, you know, some fluorocarbon driven into it, then I think you're fine to rotocork. You just don't want to do it too heavy, and you know, the possibility exists that you put the block on, you run the rotocork, and you could be stripping some of that fluorocarbon away from the ski if you're not careful there, if the cork is really fresh. And there's like less of a buffer there, so if the speed is really high on the rotocork, you can have the potential to burn the base a little bit and that sort of thing. So yeah, my strategy is just to do a really good job with the powder application, and then these top layers are done in the mixed zone start finish area with the sprint races, and it's you know, it's just an additional little thing, and the races are short enough that hand corking is fine. So pretty good pressure with the hand cork, really trying to drive it in there.
Does it matter if it's a shorter cork? So you got a longer one there.
Yeah, actually the bigger the better, yeah. Size matters. Yeah, we have, on the World Cup, we have ones that are actually, they're like about twice as big as this, and that's nice. I hold this one on a little bit of an angle, because it's not, I mean, it's just barely wide enough, so I hold it just on an angle like that.
Yeah.
But those big ones we have for the World Cup are pretty slick, and they're, yeah, twice as big. And
There's yoga corks, aren't there? Like big ones?
I've looked at those, yeah, they're really big.
You can cut it though.
Yeah.
Yoga.
Oh, right.
What, they're made for yoga?
Yeah.
Oh, and they're made out of cork, well.
Yep.
So can you buy longer corks? I've hardly ever seen them.
So what sort of distance would you consider, where's your sort of break point for being short, to use the puck?
Ones with like.
Depending on how aggressive and abrasive the snow is, but I think it's hard to say. If you're rotocorking it, I'm sure you can get a few kilometers out of it. And this hand corking is really only for sprint racing, like for minimal distances, 1 kilometer. So yeah, lots of pressure with the cork pushing in the direction of travel, and then brush it out, polish it again, and away we go.
You're using a real cork here as opposed to synthetic cork.
Yeah.
And that's,
It seems
you're
to-
using synthetic corks on grip wax and real corks on,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess
Unless it's like,
I think it's probably because I've never seen synthetic corks in the bigger size, but I don't really have an answer as to why. I guess I mean,
Preference.
yeah, preference.
They're a little more abrasive.
Yeah,
You know, when they're brand new, the synthetic
develop
corks
more
are
heat.
kind of
Yeah, that's
coarse a
right.
little bit, and a little bit. They might even like
strip it out.
put some micro scratches into the ski a little bit and stuff. So that's kind of just what we've always done with the natural corks for doing the glide there. And then brush it out. There's not nearly as much material on the ski there, so it's not going to take as much brushing. And often this is done outside, and you get a little bit better sort of shiny finish there. You have to be careful with ski forms like this, because you can jam your fingers pretty hard on them.
So we get tough hands in Newfoundland.
Again, putting pretty good pressure on it. I got one finger in the groove there just to clean the groove out. Make sure it's a good polish, and you'll feel when if there's a little bit of wax or fluorocarbon still on the ski, you'll feel it with the polishing cloth. So you kind of get an idea of when you're done. And that's it. Any questions on that one? All right, pretty simple. Normally finish with some polishing, and that can also help. Like if there's a little bit of stubborn wax in the groove, for example, then you get in there and especially with the warmer gliders.
So you're not going through the old system that, where you're now using fancy horsehair brushes and.
No, we
That
keep it
stuff?
pretty simple. That way, like, just go with the. Well, we use either steel or also have brass brushes. So. Yeah, it's,
Did you find that a good one?
You won't polish it up with a nylon?
not at this point, no. If you were racing on the base wax like that, then yes, I think it's a good idea to go finally with the nylon. But I'm about to powder the skis, so I think that's enough.
So just to make sure I understand, then if you weren't putting the powder on, you would be moving through a more polishing stage with the nylon,
I think
ending
it's-
with the nylon?
Yep, it's a
Okay.
good idea. And then doing a really good job with your fiberline or paper towel just to really buff it at the end, sort of create a little bit of heat there to just make sure you have everything off the ski.
What was the wax you put on it?
This wax,
Just a,
that's just Start BM2. That's just something I grabbed from the box. It's a 0 to +10. It's a warm wax. Totally not suited for today.
How long do you spend brushing? Like, do you just spend like a minute on a ski, or?
Well, normally it depends. Like, it's sort of a visual thing to see, because you can kind of see where there's little bits of wax left on the ski, and so that's why it's pretty important to have a good set of lights or good lighting in your wax room. But yeah, real production waxing, then I mean, typically, something. I don't know how long it takes me to do this, but to go down the ski like this.
But you're not looking for the little powder that's coming off to see
No.
how much is off? And-
No, because there's powder in the brush and that sort of thing. And then maybe finish with a few longer strokes like this.
Yeah.
just to clean up the dust. He's using the
What about these guys for bulk removal? Do you ever use the larger ones? like
Perfect,
that?
yeah, yeah, we've used those in the past too, and then
We'll
just
see this.
polish it like that.
Put some down.
And it depends, I mean, if you're just scraping the skis for testing purposes or training, then of course you do a little faster, and, you know, if it's for racing at the World Championships, then you're gonna spend a little more time. So, for the powders, we're gonna create a little bit of smoke here, but 160, 165 for the iron. It's good, to make sure the iron's clean.
So you don't go by what the manufacturer recommends, you just put it at 160, 165
Yep.
for all powders?
Yeah, now some of them they start to say they want, and the new irons, I think they go up to 180.
Wow.
And so, but you do have to be careful that you are not gonna do damage there.
And some of the cold powders too, they say at a colder temperature, right? It's not hot.
Oh, yeah, maybe, I mean, there's a lot of recommendations there, but, I mean, yeah, I mean, typically for a powder, 160, 165, that's what we're
Okay.
doing. So, whoop, powder, often you can use a scraper, something to get a good tap there, whoops. But again, I use my finger to sort of run along the ski. Switch it. The powders can kind of clump up inside the can sometimes, so you may have to open it up and stick a pencil in there or something, or one of the thin groove scrapers. Good idea to go back and just, if you missed a few little spots.
Are you fairly generous with the powder, or?
I would say this is not being super generous, what I have here now. I think probably that's a lot, often people are not generous enough, they're skimping a little bit, and I mean, there's a budget perspective there, but again, like I said, with the Rotocork, you want to have enough fluorocarbons on the ski that you're sort of pressing it on and dispersing it, but you're not actually removing it and peeling it away, so.
If you watch the Swick's ski school, he just lathers it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way you should do it then, I guess, right?
One tube does 4 skis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to not be too shy there, for sure. I mean, prioritize, but you also, there's a little bit of the insulating quality of the powder between the iron and the base as well to be considered, so you're not putting the hot iron directly on the base. Tap it down. This is the really smoky section. And then draw it back. And ideally you have pretty good clean black finish there, not too much extra powder visible.
Nice flat ski.
That's brand new.
Yeah. Not a lot of our skis look like that.
Yeah, flat skis take a lot less heat.
So go back and maybe touch it a little bit on the, but you don't want to ever spend too long with the iron in any one spot. There, and that's totally what I forgot, is the Rotocork.
Now, that first pass that you did, we were rotocorking right after the first pass, so you just heat it and then rotocork it right after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty good to set it in there with the iron. Like if you just kind of tamp it down, it's just kind of fixing it so you don't end up pushing it off of the ski as you iron. And I think it's good to get that one reasonable pass with the iron, just to really sort of set it in there with some decent heat, and then I gotta pull out my Rotocork here, so I knew I was forgetting something.